Hey y'all, let's make creamy chicken enchilada soup. Okay, we're gonna start our soup by making some chicken broth. Now you can use my video that I have linked over here, or you can make this a quick and easy recipe and use a rotisserie chicken and some canned broth, so you may wanna skip this step. But for today, I'm gonna make some chicken broth so that I can get this soup going, and I want to save my chicken breast for something else, so I'm not gonna roast that part. So I'm gonna take these chicken breasts off and get these chickens roasting. I am gonna save the skin. Okay, so I have one chicken breast here, and I am gonna come in and take the tenderloin too. I usually like to just do the dark meat in the soup, so I'll either use 2 to 4 leg quarters of chicken. So that's what we're gonna use for this recipe. So I'm gonna roast this chicken and then take the dark meat off the bone, and that's what we're gonna use in our soup today. So if you get a rotisserie chicken, you can pick the whole thing and put it in there. If you want both, you can do white meat if you would like that. It's whichever kind of meat you want to use. Okay, and this is gonna be plenty of meat for our other recipe, so I'm not gonna be particular about cleaning all of this off. I'm gonna put this breast skin back over the top and go ahead and get this in a 375-degree oven. We're gonna roast these for about an hour, hour and a half. And as soon as the meat is ready to be picked, then we're gonna pick that meat, and then we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna leave this cook for the rest of the day on low so that I can render all of the broth, and I'm gonna pull that for the soup. Like I said, you can skip this part altogether and just use a whole rotisserie chicken and some boxed chicken broth, or you can do this step on a completely different day. Our chicken has been roasting in the oven at 375 for about an hour and a half. So now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna pull these, and we're gonna start to pull our chicken. And I'm gonna separate whatever's gonna fit in this container is what I'm gonna actually put in our soup. I did make 2 chickens today, so I wanna make a really big amount of broth because I have several soups that I'm preparing for this week. And since I make my chicken broth, I just wanna make sure I have enough to get all of my soups done for this week, and maybe put a little bit in the freezer for another night. So, let's carefully take this out. And I'll show you why I roast my chickens for chicken stock, because it really renders this beautiful liquid. And so we're gonna leave this in here. This is gonna be the start of our broth. I'm gonna get our chicken picked. Whatever we have left over is gonna go in a container to the freezer for another quick recipe, maybe some flautas or another soup or something like that. So we're gonna go ahead and get this picked. And I did take the chicken breasts off because, like I said, I'm gonna brown those for another recipe. I didn't want to roast those. So there's not gonna be a lot of white meat on these chickens. All of our bones, all of our skin is gonna go back into our stock pot because, like I said, we're gonna make a big pot of stock. Now that our chickens are all picked, I have everything back in our pot. We're gonna fill this up with water, so it should be about 20 cups, I think is what I'm gonna fit in here. Let me fill this and I'll let you know. And then this is gonna be the meat that we're gonna use for our actual soup today. So I've got the meat here, and then I'm also going to get some black beans soaking because I'm not using canned black beans for this recipe today. So it's gonna be 8 ounces of black beans. I'm gonna use half of a 1-pound bag. So let me get my hands washed. I'm gonna get this filled up with water and put back in the oven at 300 degrees for the rest of the day. Not doing anything else to this until dinner time. And when we come back, it'll be tonight, and I'll show you how to put the actual soup together. So at that point is gonna be if you bought a rotisserie chicken or you had some leftover chicken meat and you're gonna use a box broth, that will be the point in the recipe where you can pick up, and it's gonna be a quick 30-minute meal. So let me get my hands washed and we'll come back. Okay, so this is gonna be 1 gallon of water to our pot. I'm also gonna add some onions and some carrots. I do not have celery today, but normally I would put celery in this also, but I'm not gonna do that today because I just don't have any. It's gonna come out just fine. And then this is our 1-pound bag of beans. So I'm gonna do half of this, and I'm gonna let these beans soak for today. That way they will be ready to cook super fast when we put our soup together tonight. You could also use canned beans for this. If you do that, again, you don't have to let those soak. So it's up to you. If you have time to soak some dry beans, you can do that. You can do canned beans as well. Okay, this is gonna be going back into the oven. Okay, we're gonna start our enchilada sauce part of our recipe with about 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. And then we're gonna match our avocado oil with an equal amount of flour, about 2 tablespoons, because we're gonna make a little roux. Let me make sure this is the right consistency. A little more flour. So we're gonna cook this for just a minute. We just wanna cook the flour. We're not making a dark roux. This is just gonna be to make the enchilada sauce part of our soup. Anytime I'm making a roux, I like to use a flat-edged wood spoon. It makes it so that you can get everything up off the bottom and it's not gonna burn that way. So we wanna have this on medium-high, and you wanna make sure that you never stop turning the spoon around in here so that you don't get any burned spots, because that'll mess the whole thing up. We're just gonna let this cook for 1 more second, and then we're gonna go ahead and add our seasonings in. Okay, that's looking good. To our flour and our oil, we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of cayenne, 1 tablespoon of cumin, 1 tablespoon of paprika, and 1 teaspoon of Mexican oregano. And that's all going in now. We're gonna let this cook for just a minute, and you're gonna start to smell those seasonings come together. So we're gonna cook this just a second. You see in there it makes kind of a paste. Okay, if we were just making enchilada sauce, the next step would be to add either some chicken broth or some water to make this into a sauce. But today I'm gonna go ahead and add either 1 small onion or half of a large onion that I have diced. We're gonna go ahead and let these cook down for a little bit, and that's why I'm not putting the liquid in just yet. So we're gonna mix our onions in, and put a little color on those. When these are about halfway done, I'm gonna go ahead and put in, I have 6 diced cloves of garlic. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and add in our 6 cloves of diced garlic. I love creamy enchilada soup. It's so good on a cold day. It's got lots of seasoning. It's got lots of creaminess to it. So good. Okay, we're gonna let these cook for just a second, and then we're gonna add in our 4 cups of chicken broth while we're stirring. That way we don't get a bunch of lumps from our seasoning. Okay. Turn this to low while this comes together. So you can see how creamy our enchilada sauce is starting to look. Put a little more in. It's important to add your chicken broth a little bit at a time right now because you don't want to end up with a bunch of lumps from the flour and everything. So we're just gonna put some in, make sure it all comes together, put a little more in, make sure it all comes together, and then you can finally add your last little bit. But see how nice and creamy that is? Okay, now we can go ahead and add the remaining amount. Okay, now that we have all of our enchilada sauce done, we have our onions and our garlic in. We're gonna go ahead, actually let me drain off. I have my beans that have been soaking, so I'm gonna go ahead and drain those and put those in. All right. We're also gonna add in 2 cups of frozen corn. You can use 2 cans of corn if you'd rather, or you can use fresh corn. Let's give that a stir. Make sure you don't have anything left stuck to the bottom. Okay, now it's gonna be time to add our chicken. This is gonna be about 1 whole picked chicken that we're adding to this. Let's give that a stir, and then we're gonna need to add a little more liquid to this, I think, and we're gonna let this cook for about 30 minutes, and we'll test our beans to see if they're soft enough or not. Now that this is all together, I'm gonna add 2 cups of now that this is all together, I'm gonna add 2 cups of water to this, and then we're gonna put the lid on and let this cook for 30 minutes. Okay, let's give this one more stir. This is already looking so delicious. When we come back, we are going to put in the creamy part of our creamy enchilada soup. And then I'll also get our dressed toppings ready while this is cooking too. Okay, our soup has been cooking for an hour and it's about done. We're gonna finish that up in a second. But before we do that, we're gonna go ahead and get our toppings ready. I'm gonna dice 1/4 of a white onion, 1 jalapeno, part of a bunch of cilantro, and a lime. do 1 jalapeno. And I am gonna seed and vein this. But you don't have to. And then I'm gonna do about 1/3 of a bunch of cilantro. Okay, now that we have our onion topping ready to go, we're gonna go ahead and shred up our cheese. You can use Monterey Jack for this, you can use pepper jack, whatever kind you like. I'm gonna use some cheddar cheese today. All right, now that this is done, we're gonna go ahead and finish up our soup, and then we'll make a plate. Now that our soup has been cooking for about an hour, our beans are all done. We're gonna go ahead and finish this off. So let's give this a stir. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do some salt and pepper, and then we're gonna add 12 ounces of sour cream to this. Some pepper. Let's give that a mix, and then we'll mix in our 12 ounces of sour cream. I'm going to use some Daisy for this. Mix. And I did go ahead and turn the heat off on this because everything is done cooking and it was a little bit on the hot side. So we're gonna go ahead and turn it off and add our sour cream in and get this all combined. Now that that's about done, we're gonna add about a cup of cheese. To our soup. Like I said, I'm using cheddar cheese, but you can use either Monterey Jack or pepper jack cheese, whatever kind you like. We'll get that mixed together, and then we're gonna go ahead and plate our soup. You can see it's looking so creamy and delicious. Okay, let me get this plated up and we'll come back. Okay guys, our soup is done. It's time to dress it and eat. So we'll take some soup, lots of chicken, some broth, and then we're gonna take a spoonful of cheese. And then some of our topping. And now we're ready to go. I hope you guys love this meal. It's so warm and delicious.